Kalen Ward stepped into the silent alien dome with slow and careful steps. His boots echoed on the smooth metallic floor, and each sound reminded him how empty this place was. The dome had been abandoned for years, maybe decades. Human explorers still argued about what happened to the strange alien species who lived here, the Lirathi. Some believed they died out. Others believed they escaped to another star. But no one had ever found a living one. Callan held a small light stick in his hand. Its blue glow painted the walls with cold color. Everything around him looked broken or forgotten. Crates left open, tools scattered as if dropped in a hurry, and cracked screens that once showed data, but now only displayed frozen lines. His mission was simple. Find old research logs, take them back to the human outpost. Nothing dangerous, he had been told. He walked deeper into the dome. A heavy door stood closed at the end of the hallway. Strange symbols, thin curved lines covered it. Callan placed his hand on the control pad, hoping the door still worked. To his surprise, the metal shutters opened with a long hiss. Inside the room, the air smelled different, warmer and almost sweet. Callan stepped in and froze. At the center of the room stood a large, glass-like chamber. It was like a pod used for healing or experiments. The light stick in Callan's hand flickered as he approached. Someone was inside. Callan's heart hit his chest. His first thought was that he found a preserved body, but when he got closer, he saw movement, a slow, weak movement. It was a girl, an alien girl. She looked young, maybe the age of a teenager in human years. Her skin was pale silver, with faint glowing lines running along her arms. Her hair was long and soft-looking, almost white. Her eyes were closed, her breathing unsteady. But what shocked Callan was not her appearance. She had no exoshell. Every ancient record about the Lirathi said that they always wore protective armor-like shells, part machine, part biological. Being without it was considered extremely vulnerable, like a human being caught in a dangerous storm with no protection. Seeing her like this felt private, fragile, and shocking. Callan stepped back, not wanting to frighten her. Before he could think of what to do, the chamber door suddenly hissed open on its own. A soft alarm beeped, as if the machine had reached the end of its cycle. The girl's eyes opened. Bright silver pupils locked onto him. They widened in shock, fear, and something else, confusion. She pushed herself back against the chamber wall, her body trembling. Callan raised both hands immediately. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her breathing slowed a little. Still, her eyes never left him, full of fear at being seen without the armor her people considered necessary. Callan took one slow step back toward the door. "See? I'm giving you space." The girl tried to stand, but her legs shook. She barely managed to step out of the chamber before falling forward. Callan rushed instinctively and caught her. She flinched hard but didn't fight. He could feel her shivering, her skin cold like metal left out in winter. "You're freezing," he whispered. She looked up at him, surprised that he was gentle. Her eyes blinked slowly, as if she still did not understand why a human would help her. Callan took off his exploration jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. It was far too big for her, but she pulled it close, grateful for the warmth. "You need heat," he said, kneeling beside her. He placed a small emergency heat patch near her hands. The patch glowed faint orange, and the girl immediately covered it with both palms. Her eyes softened slightly. She breathed out in relief as warmth spread through her body. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. She watched him carefully, studying his face, his clothes, even the way he breathed. He wasn't sure if she was judging him or simply trying to understand what he was. Callan scanned the chamber for damage and found a cracked cable sparking near the back wall. "That's not good," he muttered. He checked the control panel and saw power levels dropping dangerously fast. He turned back to her. "We have to go. This place is failing." The girl tilted her head, not understanding his words again. But she understood something was wrong when she felt the floor vibrate slightly. Callan offered his hand. She stared at it for a long second, then slowly reached out and placed her own hand in his. Her fingers were light, delicate, and a bit colder than human skin. He helped her stand. She was weak, leaning on him for support. They moved toward the hallway, but the dome suddenly shook violently. Lights flickered. A loud cracking noise echoed through the walls. Callan quickly lifted her into his arms. She gasped softly, her silver eyes widening again with shock, but she did not resist. She wrapped her arms around his neck, holding tightly. "It's okay," he whispered. "I've got you." He ran down the hallway as alarms began to blare. The dome's power systems were collapsing, probably due to age and neglect. Pieces of the ceiling fell behind them as he moved. When they reached the exit door, Callan pressed the control pad again, but this time the door did not open. "Come on," he muttered. The girl lifted one weak hand and touched the pad. A faint glow spread from her fingertips. The door opened instantly. Callan blinked. "That was impressive." She gave the smallest hint of a smile, though still scared and exhausted. Outside, the landscape was quiet. A gray sky hung over barren rock fields stretching far into the horizon. The human outpost was at least an hour's walk away. Callan lowered her gently onto a patch of soft ground. She stood shakily, holding the jacket tight around her. A soft wind touched her skin, and she shivered again. "You're safe now," he said. She pointed at herself, then at him, then shook her head. The meaning was clear. She didn't trust him yet. Callan nodded. "I get it, but I'm still helping you." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. She didn't understand why a human would protect a stranger from another species. She had been taught many things about humans, most of them unkind and frightening. Her breathing steadied. She touched her chest lightly, then said a soft word. "Lyra." Callan nodded. "Lyra." He tapped his own chest. "Callan," she repeated softly. "Len." It was the first time her voice sounded calm. But that moment of peace didn't last long. A loud humming noise echoed across the sky. Callan looked up to see a small alien ship flying in their direction, sleek, sharp, and unmistakably Lyrathi. It stopped above the dome and scanned the area. Lyra's face turned white with fear. She grabbed Callan's sleeve tightly, shaking her head. Her entire body trembled. "You're scared of them?" Callan asked quietly. She nodded quickly, eyes wide. "What will they do to you?" he asked. She struggled to find a way to explain. Then she pointed to herself, then made a braking motion with her hands, then pointed at the sky. Callan understood enough. "They'll destroy you." Tears formed in her glowing eyes. She whispered a trembling sound in her language that sounded like a plea. The ship moved closer, scanning the ground. Callan stood in front of Lyra without thinking. The girl gasped softly at his sudden action. She had never seen a human defend someone of another species. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The ship shot a beam of light down, scanning Callan first. He shielded Lyra as much as he could, spreading his arms. The beam passed over them both, then flickered off. The ship hovered for a moment longer, then drifted away, searching the opposite side of the dome. Lyra's legs gave out. She sank to her knees, breathing fast, her body shaking with fear and relief. Callan knelt beside her. "It's okay. They didn't see you." She looked at him with eyes full of confusion and something like disbelief. Slowly, she touched the front of his jacket near his chest, not in a personal way, but as if checking if he was real. She whispered something soft. Callan didn't understand the words. but the feeling was clear. Gratitude mixed with surprise. She had expected humans to be dangerous. Instead, a human had protected her. Callan stood and lifted her again, gently, carefully. She rested her head against his shoulder, still weak, still scared, but now calmer than before. "We're going to the human outpost," he said. "They'll help you. I'll make sure no one hurts you." Lyra listened to his voice and closed her eyes. She didn't understand every word, but she understood the tone. Warm, steady, and kind. As Callan walked across the gray landscape with the alien girl in his arms, the wind shifted softly, almost as if the planet itself was watching this strange pair, a human explorer and a fragile alien survivor. And for the first time since she woke up, Lyra believed she might survive. Callan's boots crunched on the gray rocks as he carried Lyra across the barren landscape. The wind bit at their faces, and the sky above seemed endless and empty. Lyra's small hands clung to his shoulders, her body still weak, but she no longer trembled as badly. She trusted him, though she didn't fully understand why. The human outpost was still hours away, and the horizon seemed to stretch forever. Callan kept talking quietly, hoping the sound of his voice would calm her further. He spoke about human towns, their routines, the way they treated each other, and sometimes about himself. Lyra listened quietly, occasionally tilting her head as she tried to understand. A sudden movement caught Callan's attention. A group of small alien drones hovered over the rocks ahead, their sharp, metallic shapes glinting in the pale light. He froze and held Lyra tighter. "They've found us," he whispered. Lyra's silver eyes widened. She wanted to speak, but no words came. Callan could feel her panic, the fear that her people would capture her and punish her for being away. He took a deep breath and assessed the situation. The drones were scanning the area, searching for movement. They weren't armed to attack immediately, but they were alert. Callan needed a plan. He looked at the rocks, the uneven terrain, and realized that humans were smaller and more flexible than these machines. Maybe he could use that. He whispered, "Stay very still. Don't move until I tell you." Lyra nodded. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone, a command to wait and trust. Callan dropped to the ground, crawling behind a jagged rock formation. The drone's sensors passed over him and didn't detect him. He motioned for Lyra to follow, and she crawled slowly, keeping close to him. Each movement was careful, precise. One wrong move, and they would be detected. Finally, they reached a narrow canyon where the drones couldn't easily pass. Callan stood and held his hand out. Lyra looked at him, hesitant. He nodded encouragingly, and she stepped forward, her feet barely making sound on the soft ground. Once they were out of immediate danger, Callan set Lyra down and knelt beside her. "You see? Humans can be clever. You're safe, for now." She looked at him with a faint smile. It was small, almost invisible, but it warmed Callan's heart. Lyra was learning to trust him. Slowly she tried to speak. "And's different," she said. Callan chuckled softly. "Yes, we are, and sometimes we do things no one expects." They continued walking, the canyon eventually opening onto a flat plain. In the distance, the human outpost appeared, a cluster of domes, towers, and antennae glimmering faintly under the pale sky. Relief washed over Callan. They were almost there. But the sound of alien engines approached, low and humming, far too close for comfort. "They're coming," Lyra whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. Callan scanned the horizon. 2 large ships were descending, sleek and black, unmistakably Larathi. They carried patrols looking specifically for Lyra. Callan knew they couldn't outrun them for long. He needed to think fast. "Listen to me," he said firmly, crouching so she could see him. "We have to hide and wait." "I'll make a distraction." Lyra's eyes widened. "Danger?" she asked in a small, quivering voice. "Yes," he admitted, "but I've got you. Trust me." She hesitated, then nodded. She had learned that humans, though strange, could be brave in ways her species often was not. She trusted him to lead. Callan led her to a narrow ravine. The walls rose high above them, hiding them from sight. He found a small alcove where they could crouch, and they settled in as the patrol ships passed over the flat plain. Lyra clutched his sleeve tightly, her glowing lines flickering slightly with fear. The patrol ships circled and scanned, but the canyon's shadows kept them hidden. Callan whispered, "See, we're safe here for now, but we can't stay long. We need to reach the outpost." Lyra nodded, determination flickering in her eyes. She had realized that survival meant trusting someone from another species. For the first time, she felt that humans could be allies, not enemies. Once the ships moved away, Callan led her out of the canyon and continued toward the outpost. Each step was careful. Each glance backward was cautious. They were close now. The lights of the outpost glimmered like a promise in the distance. As they neared the gates, a human guard noticed them. He ran forward, calling out, "Halt! Identify yourselves!" Callan raised his hands. "We're not a threat. I'm Callan Ward, and this is Lyra. She needs help." The guard's eyes widened at the sight of Lyra. "She's a Lyrathi," he whispered. "Alive." "Yes," Callan said quickly. "And in danger. Please help us." The guard looked to his superiors, who were quickly alerted. Within moments, the gate opened. Lyra stepped inside, still weak but safe. She glanced at Callan, her eyes full of relief and gratitude. Inside, medics rushed to her. They gave her warmth, water, and medical attention. Lyra tried to speak, but the words failed. Instead, she touched Callan's hand lightly, a simple gesture of thanks. Callan smiled and squeezed her hand in return. Once she was stabilized, Callan spoke to the outpost commander. "She's being hunted by her own people. We need protection and a safe place for her." The commander nodded gravely. "We will keep her safe. You've done well, human. Not many would risk themselves for someone not of their species." Callan shrugged. "I didn't see it as a choice. She needed help. I couldn't leave her." Lyra, watching silently, finally spoke a few words. "Human. Brave." Callan chuckled. "Thank you. But bravery is not enough. We'll need strategy, patience, and teamwork to keep you safe." Over the next few days, Lyra recovered under human care. She learned their language slowly and carefully. She observed their routines, their kindness to each other, and their willingness to help a stranger. She began to understand that humans valued life in ways her own people often did not. During this time, Callan and Lyra grew closer, not in friendship only, but in mutual respect and understanding. He taught her small human skills, and she shared bits of her own knowledge about her species, their technology, and their culture. They laughed over mistakes and celebrated small victories. Slowly, trust became friendship, and friendship became something deeper. But the threat of her people remained. Patrol ships sometimes appeared near the horizon, and Lyra tensed each time. Callan stayed close, always ready to protect her. He had learned that humans were not just clever. They were persistent, resourceful, and, when necessary, fearless. One evening, as the sun set over the distant mountains, Lyra and Callan stood outside the outpost, looking at the stars. Lyra's eyes reflected the countless points of light. She spoke softly, in a voice filled with wonder and emotion. "Stars. Same. Different worlds. Same feelings." Callan nodded. "Yes. No matter where you are, some things are the same. Life, hope, trust." She turned to him and smiled, a real, bright smile, free of fear. "You protect me. I trust." "And I will," Callan replied firmly, "no matter what comes." The days passed, and the bond between human and alien grew stronger. Lyra began to train lightly, learning to use some of her own species' abilities safely with human guidance. Callan watched her, amazed at her strength and determination. She was fragile in some ways, but also incredibly resilient. Then came the first real test. A Lyrathi patrol appeared on the horizon, moving quickly toward the outpost. Lyra's heart raced, but this time she did not panic. She looked at Callan. "Together?" she asked. "Together," he confirmed. They moved to the edge of the outpost, ready to face the threat. Callan had prepared traps and strategies, using the terrain and outpost technology to their advantage. Lyra used her alien abilities to protect and support him. The patrol arrived, confident in their superiority, but they underestimated the humans, and Callan in particular. With clever maneuvers, careful planning, and unbreakable determination, the human outpost and Lyra worked together to drive the patrol away. Lyra watched the humans, especially Callan, and understood fully that humans had courage that could match or exceed her own species in unexpected ways. After the patrol left, Lyra turned to Callan. "I choose stay with you. Safe." Callan smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. "You're safe, Lyra. Here, humans will protect you, and I will too." She nodded, her silver eyes bright with trust and gratitude. Together they looked at the stars again, knowing that the galaxy was vast and full of danger, but also full of hope. They had each other, and that was enough to face whatever came next. And in that moment, Lyra finally realized that the human she once feared could be the reason she survived, and the reason she could hope for a future she had never imagined. The stars shone above, and for the first time in her life she felt truly free.